Do you know where we're going?
I know exactly where we're going. Katana went this way. I can smell a perfume.
I don't smell anything.
I smell something. Bullshit.
Hey everybody, welcome to Video Section, the show where each week we take a look back at a classic movie from the VHS era. My name is Josh, and I'm here with Steven. Steven, how you feeling, man?
Really good, man. Really good.
I bet you are. I see that twinkle in your eye.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. No, I'm feeling great, dude. I'm feeling fantastic. I love doing this shit, so I'm happy and I'm ready to go. But I have a feeling that the reason you are feeling so excited today is because today we are talking about Mortal Kombat! Yeah, we're talking about Mortal Kombat today. Steven, I don't even think I have to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Had you seen this movie before doing research for this show?
Yeah. I've probably seen it like 10, 15 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I will say that I had seen this movie one time 25 years ago. I actually saw it not too long after it came out. I took two of our cousins to go see this at the Dollar Theater in the town where you reside, and it was one of the worst fucking movie experiences from the standpoint of the theater. That place was I don't even know if you remember that place.
Yeah, but you were blown away by the plot, the performances, the overall presentation of the movie left you nearly in tears, and I'm sure that you didn't see it again only because you didn't want to have to experience such strong emotions again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wanted to preserve the moment forever and ever and ever. And I'll be completely honest with you, I had not thought about this movie since then, since you brought it up. So it was interesting to go back and look at. There are definitely some big differences in technology that we'll discuss. Big differences. But anyway, Steven, I tell you what, let's get into it, man. How about some facts about the movie? Okay, we're talking about Mortal Kombat with a K. We don't fuck with Mortal Kombat with a C. This is Mortal Kombat with a K, released in 1995. And it was directed by Paul Anderson. And dude, honestly, Steven, can you tell me what the fuck this guy's full name is? Because I'm getting confused.
Yeah, so the guy that directed this movie is Paul William Scott Anderson, otherwise known as Paul W.S. Anderson. There's a distinction because this guy is not Paul Thomas Anderson.
No, he's not.
You really don't want to confuse the two of those when you go to pick a movie to watch. Trust me on that.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I looked at this when I was doing research, and I was like, whoa, is this where fucking Paul Thomas Anderson got his start? There's no fucking way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he definitely did not have a touch on this movie, but you know, Paul Anderson, I actually did a little research on this guy, and there are a few interesting things about him. He did do several of the Resident Evil movies.
Yes, he did.
Which, you know, honestly, I'm not going to say they're great movies, but they're entertaining. And he is also married.
Just like this one.
Yeah. And he also married almost said Mila Kunis. Mila Jovovich. And I believe they're still married to this day, assuming they met on the set of those movies. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot going on. It seems like video game movies was kind of this dude's lane.
Yeah, he hit a niche and rode it all the way to the top.
He definitely did. Or at least the middle.
That's
So- No, dude, you were very, very gracious with Vacation, so I'm not gonna fucking just completely shit all over this movie.
No,
I'm,
no, no,
I'm
hit it, dude.
coming into it very open-minded.
Tell me about the guy that wrote this movie, because this is a very famous name. I'm sure we're all gonna know.
Yeah, and I'm sure I know everybody knows Kevin Droney. You can insert crickets there. As far as I can see, this is about the only thing he really ever worked on that you would have ever heard of.
Yeah, this is literally it.
Yeah, it was one and done for this guy. Conversely, cinematography was by John R. Leonetti, who did have some credits I had heard of. He worked on The Mask, Joe Dierte, Dead Silence, and then Insidious and The Conjuring more recently. So I guess he kind of shifted over to more the horror lane, which I'd really enjoyed both of those films as well.
Yeah, and you can't mistake the A-plus cinematography in Insidious and The Conjuring. Both of those movies are made by this dude's cinematography. And of course, I mean, the direction of James Wan, let's not, leave anybody out. But I guess what I'm saying is, of all the people that worked on this movie...
Yeah, that you've ever even fucking heard of, I would say.
This guy went on to... he already had a career, but he went on to have a quite a good career, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Still going, so...
He must have had to pay some bills there in the mid-'90s. Anyway, the main cast includes a bunch of no-names, with the exception, I guess, of Chris Lambert, who was a big movie star in France in the 70s and 80s, and was that
also the Highlander.
Was the Highlander. I was going to say. And then beyond the Highlander and Billy Madison's teacher, I didn't recognize a fucking soul in this movie. Like, I had no idea who they were, but we'll give them a shout out. Robin Shue, Lyndon Ashby, Carrie Hirayoko Tagawa, and Bridget Wilson.
Yeah, which we all know as the super fine teacher in Billy Madison.
Yeah, dude, she made me feel some things. Absolutely. Yeah, and she didn't make me feel quite as much in this movie, but we'll get to that. So the actual composition was by George S. Clinton. He composed the score, but I think the most memorable shit was done by a Belgian group called The Immortals, which were created just for this movie. Steven, I know you're a big Immortals fan. Can you lay out some hits for me?
It's just this movie, man.
Okay. All right.
It's just this movie. It's just an EDM group, electronic dance music group, that was created just for this movie. And they went on to do some of the other Mortal Kombat stuff, and I think they stuck around doing some other tracks. But I mean, this is it. Like, this is really what matters.
So I'm curious, did you ever own the soundtrack to Mortal Kombat?
No, and I've been looking and I can't find it. I would love to have a physical copy of this soundtrack, but I can't find it.
Yeah, that might be tough. Steven, I think maybe it's time for a spoiler alert.
All right, everybody, I got to give you a spoiler alert. Any discussion beyond this point can and probably will contain movie-ruining spoilers. Of course, if you would like to go see this movie, press pause. It can be found on Amazon Prime for rent only, Blu-ray, which I own, DVD, Laserdisc, which would be badass, and of course, VHS, if you can find it.
Yeah, and I just want to say I got lucky as hell because I watched this shit like 3 days on Netflix before they took the shit off, man. So I was pretty stoked.
Yeah, me too. I watched it once, and then I went and tried to watch it again immediately, of course, and I got halfway through it before I fell asleep, and the next day, and it was gone. You know what I mean?
Well, thankfully, you have that trusty Blu-ray.
Yeah, I had, an ace in the hole, so to speak.
Yes, sir. Well, I watched it once, and I felt like that was enough to cover what we need to do today. But if I ever need to see it again, I'll just hit you up for that Blu-ray.
Yeah, if you want to see the clearest Windows 95 CGI, you need the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to look too close on this, actually. Maybe, VHS is the way to go on this.
I think maybe VHS is the way to go, and I would actually like to have a copy.
Well, let's see what we can find, man. We'll cruise the local thrift stores, see what we can get for you. let's lay down a little context for the time this movie was released. So in 1995, the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building happened on April 19th, 1995. It was the deadliest domestic terror act in U.S. history. It caused $652 million worth of damage and killed at least 168 people, including many children. It also damaged over 300 buildings in the nearby area. God damn, that's a bummer, dude. I think I should have picked another story. But so
Is that the OKC bombing?
it is.
Yeah, I don't know all those terms. I just know it is the OKC bombing. I know who did it, which we're not going to say, but
Yeah. We can leave that out. No, I certainly remember all the details about that, dude. That was tearing up CNN and all the news cycles. It was crazy. It was a terrible tragedy.
yeah, pretty nuts.
But moving on to something slightly more positive. It's actually a lot more positive. So the public perception of the movie was pretty well received by the public. And for 3 weekends, it sat at number 1 and ended up grossing $121 million. Steven, could you whip out that old Texas Instrument Cali and convert that shit in today's numbers, please?
Beep, boop, beep. All right, here we go. Let me crunch the numbers.
Do it.
$121 million made in 1995 would be $206 million adjusted for inflation in today's money.
God damn. I thought 121 sounded strong. That's fucking nuts.
That's actually not bad.
Yeah, it was a fucking hit, dude.
Yeah, so let's just say public perception of the movie, pretty good.
Yeah, and you've got to understand that was at the height of the video game popularity, too. There was a lot of controversy going on. I think it was one of the games featured in a lot of congressional meetings about video game violence. So, of course, if parents don't want you to play it, that's all you want to fucking do. So the game was huge when this movie came out.
Can I take a moment to say something?
Yes, you can.
Fuck the FCC.
Dude, I'll jump on that bandwagon with you all day long. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And in every single case over the last 40 years that we've dealt with this, within 10 years, we look back and go, what the fuck was the big deal?
I mean, personally, seeing people's spines ripped out of their body by hand and then presented, on screen to me when I was 8 years old.
Fatality.
That didn't bother me at all. I don't know what the big deal was,
Yeah, I really don't either. And I know, and this was kind of in the infancy. This is kind of when violent video games first came around. So I guess that's what we can attribute it to.
My dude, this was the violent video game that everybody hung their hat on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The fatalities in this video game were like...
It was the reason you played it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that was what it was all about. You had to get to the end and get the fatality, man. Rip a motherfucker's face off.
Flawless victory.
Like, this game is responsible for conservatism, anti-video game rhetoric in general.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It was a pioneer, man. People weren't ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, GTA came along, and, they had some more meat to sink their teeth into, but this was the game. They lost
their shit on GTA too, and like I said, it just goes to show, there's always this huge groundswell of controversy, and then you look back a few years later, and you're like, I don't understand, man. What was the problem?
Yeah, what's worse, picking up hookers on a street and fucking them in your car, or pulling somebody's eyeballs out with your hands and then shoving them in their mouth?
It depends on what the hooker looks like, I guess. I don't know.
Josh, how did the critics perceive this movie?
It was pretty down the middle. Most of the critics would kind of cite like the writing and performances as a negative. Can't say they were too off base. I mean, you can watch this movie, you can enjoy it, but I don't know that you can say that it was extremely well done. I don't know. Maybe you could, but I wouldn't say so.
I'm not blowing my load that quick. I'm not going to take the bait.
It was pretty meh as far as the critics were concerned.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think as far as some of the issues with the movie actually were the lack of violence. There were no fatalities, not really any blood and guts, and it was a good bit different from the video game. And I think the fans of the game were pretty disappointed with the movie for the most part.
Yeah, fans of the video games were hugely disappointed. Casual viewers, they liked it.
5-year-olds.
Yeah, well, no, hey, 5-year-old.
I'm just saying, you were 5 at the time.
I didn't watch it in 1995. It was PG-13.
Oh, okay. So you had to wait 8 years.
Yeah.
I got you. 2003, you were on that shit, man.
Oh, dude, it was my favorite movie in 2003. That was my coming of age movie. 13. Now I can finally watch movies.
Yeah, that's true. And you went straight to Mortal Kombat, man.
Of course. I don't know what other movie would be better.
That was probably their demo, probably 13 to 15 when this movie came out.
Oh, almost certainly.
I'll be completely honest with you. So I would have seen this when I was 16. I don't really remember anything about the movie from that time, but I remember thinking it was okay. I didn't have an issue with it.
Word.
I thought this was kind of interesting. It was cut to add more fight scenes after test screenings. Now, when I read that, honestly, what I thought is there were surprisingly few fight scenes for a movie based on a game about fighting.
Exactly.
It was there, but I mean, the fact that there was less in the original cut, I thought was really crazy.
Yeah, you could pace this much like the actual video game paces their plot between exposition and fights, and it would have worked as is with that convention. I don't know why they changed it up, but apparently the fans didn't like it, and they did actually have to go back and redo that shit.
I mean, I thought, honestly, this is Mortal Kombat. What we're not really leaning on the story because if you're not fighting, what the fuck are you doing?
It's in the goddamn name. Combat.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat. Combat.
Yeah, let's see a little fighting.
There's got to be a shitload of fighting.
Yeah, and I think that's what everybody expected going in. That's probably why they had to zhuzh it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably a good segue into our plot summary. What do you think?
Go for it, man.
Okay, so if you have seen this movie recently or you haven't, maybe you need a little bit of a refresher, so to speak. Jog your memory. This is a pretty dense plot, okay? You really got to pay attention from start to finish. This is not one that you want to go to sleep through. You're not going to wake up and know what's going on, okay?
I'll say.
All right, so here's your shitty plot summary for the day. Fighters from the realm of Earth must fight in a cosmic martial arts tournament to prevent the Emperor of Outworld, his name is Shao Kahn, and his little minions from taking over and thereby destroying the Earth as we know it.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, let me explain that like our listeners are 5.
Yes. I mean, basically, that. Yeah, I mean, dude, you could have written the fucking movie with that, man.
Earth guys fight not Earth guys to save Earth.
Yeah, that's it, buddy. That's it, man. And anyone listening, if you haven't seen this before, that's what you're going to get. There's not a lot around it.
And hey, and fans of this series like me,
wait, this was a fucking series?
Yeah, this is a series. This is a series, man.
They made more than one movie.
Yeah, they did.
Really? I seriously had no idea.
They made more movies. They're actually rebooting the whole thing. The next movie is supposed to come out in January of 2021, but I mean, we all know that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, I mean, they made a whole series. I mean, the video games are a whole series. They actually have a storyline. There was books written about it. I've read some. There's a good bit of lore behind this series, and it may not be quite as dense as some of the more well-known popular fantasy sci-fi series, but it's pretty interesting. Like it's not completely cookie cutter. You can sink your teeth into it just a little bit.
That blows my mind. How many movies did they make?
Well, they only made 2 that were legit movies. This one, and then Annihilation came next. Annihilation is a big steaming pile of shit.
No,
it is. It really is, and Everybody agrees it's terrible. And they've tried since to reboot it a bunch of times, and it's been unsuccessful.
So I want you to tell me, because you have way more attachment to this movie, I want to ask you how you feel about certain aspects of this movie. So as far as the story, where do you think we're at on the story here? Was it effective? Was it accurate? What were your feelings?
So you can't talk about this movie without talking about the video game, which I'll do in a minute. On a basic level, in regards to the film, I don't have a problem with this story. From point A to point B, the plot is not bad. But that's not what was written by this guy, Kevin Droney.
Oh.
The plot is the game. Like, it was already written for him.
There was a certain amount of lore already included in the game.
Oh, I'm telling you, bro, there's lore on this series. This whole universe has lore, and it's not as dense as some, but it's surprisingly interesting.
Okay.
The characters are connected. There are backstories. It's fucking weird for such a cookie cutter popcorn blockbuster movie. But you have to remember, this was a video game series, and these people actually put a little bit of effort into these seemingly random assortment of people and aliens and demons and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
So on a basic level, the story's fine. Moving through the story, which is what this guy Kevin, the writer, was supposed to be doing, that is where we get our first hiccup.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you what my first hiccup was?
Sure.
At the very beginning of the movie, I couldn't help but notice, I honestly couldn't look away from the huge cold sore on Grandpa's lip when they're in the fucking temple. Did you happen to notice that?
No.
You didn't notice that at all?
Nope.
Dude, it was fucking dime-sized, man. I couldn't look away.
I like that guy.
I mean, he was very good at what he did, but he had a goddamn giant herpy on his lip, man, and I couldn't fucking look away, and I couldn't let it go. So seriously, though, goddamn, that fucking died on the vine. What the fuck? It's all right. I didn't give you much. I think maybe we'll move forward. We'll move on from that. God damn. But as far as the direction from Mr. Paul, not Thomas Anderson, how did you feel like this movie was filmed?
Not entirely subtle.
Come on.
Yeah, not entirely nuanced.
Yeah.
But I will say in his defense, aside from some shitty performances from his actors, and what is almost certainly a very sour script and screenplay he was delivered, this actually turned out to be a fairly good, albeit shitty, popcorn flick.
Yeah, it's entertaining, and I think also too, if you rewind 25 years, you can forgive some of the problems with the technology, some of the backgrounds. He didn't have what we have today to work with.
Yeah. The CGI may be bad, but thankfully the practical effects are terrible.
Yes. It's really nice that it worked out that way. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. And I think definitely he was handed a horrendous script. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It was not well written by, what's his fucking name? I've already forgotten. So to direct that script had to be challenging. And we've seen his work prior, and I'm not going to say that the Resident Evil films are, Oscar worthy, but they're way more well done than this film was.
Yeah, and to his credit, this was his first effort.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually did not see that. So this was his very first film.
Yeah, this was his very first
major release
studio film. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what propelled him to a career in Hollywood where he went on several years later. I think Resident Evil came out in 2001. He went on several years later to do
more video game movies.
And still does. I mean, he still works. You know what I mean? He still makes the same type of movies, but
he's got a hot wife. So he's doing something right.
Are they still together? Yeah, they are. They are still together.
Okay, I was going to say, I didn't spend too much time on Paul, not Thomas Anderson.
I don't know. I guess we're on the director's portion. I'm just taking this moment to maybe fight for him a little bit. I think he did a good job, all in all.
Yeah, I think he was at a huge disadvantage to start, so I will certainly give him that. Now, Steven, the one thing that struck me was the fact that I could almost enjoy some of the cinematography until the CGI became involved. So there were scenes at the beginning of the movie in particular, I remember, where they were kind of at the temples, and I was like, oh, wow.
The lightning.
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty well shot, and then all of a sudden it kind of pans up and you notice the background and the lightning and all the shit, and you're like, ugh. But
yeah, and then you notice that there are shadows, and this is supposed to be a night scene, so they clearly shot this through a blue lens and then had to wipe all of the background out and put in some crazy ass storm or some shit.
Oh, dude, it was the most pixelated. It was fucking nice. It's hard. Some of these scenes are hard to look at because you cannot believe a film was ever made where the CGI was so poor.
It was fucking terrible, and I will hold all of these movies accountable because I know not everybody is Steven Spielberg, but Jurassic Park was in 1993.
That's a great point.
And that CGI holds up, god damn it.
Yeah, it really does.
And the practical effects do. So I know not everybody is Steven Spielberg, but I'm thinking they could have done a little bit better.
Yeah,
it might be a money thing. I don't know.
I was gonna say not everybody has that budget, but at the same time, when you look at what they did 2 years after Jurassic Park, it's like, come on, man, what the fuck?
Yeah, it takes you out, no doubt.
Yeah, it was rough.
It's always gonna take you out. It's the worst part of this movie. I can get over the shitty performances. I can move through the shitty writing. The CGI will always be a scar on this movie.
It's like overlooking somebody walking up and slapping you in the fucking face. How do you not notice that?
Yeah, I would rather they have just done it all practically, to be honest with you. Like Goro was a practical effect, and yeah, he looks terrible. But I would rather it look like that than that stupid Windows 95 reptile thing. Oh god, dude.
I actually watched that and I was like, what the fuck was that? I thought maybe something was wrong with my internet. I was like, what the fuck just happened, man? I mean, he was fucking like tie-dye, like, yeah, seriously, like fucking Microsoft Paint. It was god awful, and there was no reason for it to even be in the movie at all.
No, yeah, and fun fact, when they were filming it, they had no idea what Reptile was going to look like pre-metamorphosis.
Lucky them.
So before he was a humanoid, Liu Kang, played by Robin Shou, is fighting this fucking lizard reptile animal bipedal alien, and he had no idea what the director had no idea what this beast was supposed to look like.
He's like, just throw some kicks, some punches, flail around a little bit. We'll fill it in. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, lessons learned, I guess, maybe, but oh my God, don't ever do that. That seems pretty easy. If you can't conceptualize it,
don't fucking do it.
Yeah, don't film it.
I would 100% agree. And I think maybe you had mentioned something about the cast earlier, and we'd gone over the cast. So other than Highlander and Billy Madison's teacher, I'd never seen any of these people before. But how do you think overall as a cast everyone did, and are there any specific performances that you would like to point out?
I think overall most everybody performed admirably, given the dog shit they had to work with. There is one notable exception, but before I go down that road, I want to hear your opinion, man. You've been asking me all these questions. What is your opinion on the cast?
The cast, I actually think that Liu Kang did really well. I didn't mind him. I think he was maybe my favorite part. and God damn it, the fucking evil sorcerer guy. I can't remember his name.
His name is Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa.
Okay, but what was his character name? I don't even know his fucking character name.
Dude, really? Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung. Okay, and I actually thought that Shang Tsung did pretty well too. Like, those were, for me, two of the more enjoyable performances. Johnny Cage, could they have found a more twerpy little fucking dude to play Johnny Cage? And look, I don't know the lore, so maybe that's part of his character. He's borderline little person, and they threw him in the movie. Like, he did not come off as a fighter to me.
No. They tried to find many other people before they settled on Lyndon Ashby.
I can tell.
Yeah, they really did.
I want to know who they couldn't get or who turned them down to leave them to Lyndon Ashby.
So their first choice for Johnny Cage was Brandon Lee.
Was he still alive at this time?
Nope. And the reason why they did he was gonna play Johnny Cage apparently, and they had to recast it because unfortunately he died on set.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but just the fact that I was so spot on. Like, yeah, I thought he was probably dead by this point.
He would have been great. He would have been great in this movie.
He would have been much better.
They also courted Jean-Claude Van Damme, who turned it down to play the guy in Street Fighter.
That is fucking ironic, man.
Yeah. All right, listen. Get this shit. Tom Cruise and Johnny Depp were also considered to play Johnny Cage.
Oh my God, not by them.
Hey, listen. The key word there is considered.
Yeah.
Because they would never have gotten either of those people.
No. Like I said, the studio, the people making it considered it. Those two never considered it. I'm sure that script never fucking reached their desk.
Fuck no. Their agent looked at that shit and was like, no.
Yeah, I don't think so. We're going to go a different direction.
Yeah. And fun fact. Cameron Diaz was originally cast as Sonya.
So she had agreed.
Yeah, no, she was cast. Yeah, agreed, had a contract. She had to drop out due to a wrist injury, apparently, and was replaced by Bridget Wilson, which is a good segue into what I'm here to talk about.
Okay.
I would say, yes, okay, the guy that played Johnny Cage left some to be desired. But if it weren't for the handling in general of Sonya Blade's character in this movie, I don't think that many people would have a leg to stand on for the shitty performances everybody bitches about. Everything involving Sonya Blade, the performance, the writing, the costuming, oh my God, dude, it was all terrible. All of it.
Yeah, I'm going to say that dress she was wearing at the end was one of the ugliest fucking things I've ever seen.
Any scene with Sonya Blade in this movie was so bad. And I think if it wasn't for her, I'm sorry, Bridget Wilson, but if it wasn't for her, everybody could overlook most of the other terrible performances in this movie.
Mortal Kombat!
All right, Joshua, let me ask you a question, since you've been grilling me for like 45 minutes now.
Hey, man, this is your baby. I don't want to hurt your baby. Yeah, ask me a question, Steven.
All right. How do you feel about the music in this movie?
I actually love some of the music. If you're talking about the soundtrack, as far as outside artists that were included in this film, I really like some of the songs. There was some Fear Factory I noticed in there, some Typo Negative, some Napalm Death. Dude, right in my fucking lane. I was down for it. I really enjoyed that shit. As far as the 90s house dance techno, yeah, that's probably not my jam. What would you say? How do you feel?
You had me in the first half, I'm not going to lie, and then you lost me because I like all of it. I think even that very, very dated 90s techno, I love it. I love it in this movie. The main theme, like Johnny Cage's theme, some of the fight themes, man, they're just so good in my opinion. So recognizable.
So what you're saying is you're a big fan of Jock Jams.
Jock Jams? What's that?
You don't know Jock Jams? Come on, dude.
What is that?
Y'all ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, every cheerleading fucking squad in the 90s had Jock Jams, man.
Honestly, I don't know how this movie would be without that cheesy 90s techno. I don't think it would be watchable. I actually think the music went a long way to soothe some of the hurts and pains of this movie.
Some of the issues, yeah. No, I think really the only other direction they could have gone would have been metal, and I think this was a lot more palatable for the general audience. So yeah, I agree. I think they probably went the right way with it. All right, Steven, I think that it may be time for everyone's favorite segment. Does this shit hold up? Steven, I need to ask you a question.
Yeah, I'm listening.
And you're a very rational man and a very intelligent man. And so
thank you.
I expect a rational, intelligent answer.
Okay.
Does this shit hold up?
No.
Okay, I was a little worried there for a second. I thought you were going to fucking buck on me, but...
No. No, it absolutely does not hold up from any perspective, really.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I find just as much enjoyment in this movie as I did when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And I think from that perspective, this will always be in my cabinet. I'm never not going to have it, and I will constantly rewatch it. I love it, but it's objectively terrible. Josh, does this shit hold up for you?
No, absolutely motherfucking not. It does not. But that being said, I totally understand what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with liking a shit movie. I've got tons of them, man. Terrible fucking movies that no one else I know likes. They don't hold up. They're dated. They're poorly written and acted, but it doesn't fucking matter. For some reason, they struck a chord with me. So, no, this does not hold up, but that does not mean you cannot enjoy this film.
And enjoy it, I do.
Yes, you do. Steven, let me ask you, would you recommend this movie? So someone's never seen this movie before. We'll say they're somewhere in the 20 to 30-year-old range. Would you say, hey, dude, I got this sick Blu-ray I need to let you borrow. Toss it in and tell me what you think.
First things first, ain't nobody borrowing my Mortal Kombat Blu-ray.
Okay, sorry. I didn't
only got one copy, all right?
Volunteer your shit out there.
Second thing is, I would recommend it, but I would have to give them a dissertation first.
Yeah, you would have to lay some groundwork before. Are you going to lose a fucking friend? Like, you got to let them know.
This is not one that I'm going to chunk in a duffel bag full of other amazing films and have somebody randomly watch it with no context whatsoever.
No, you got to tell somebody what they're watching it for. If you recommend this movie, you can't just let them go into it cold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is the reason I would probably not recommend it. I don't have the time or energy to prepare somebody for this film.
Hey, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, you know, opinions, dude. So I think that would be a good place to wrap things up. I believe it's going to do it for this episode of Video Section. I want to thank everybody for listening, and please head over to our social media at Video Section on both Instagram and Twitter. Let us know what you thought about the movie and or episode, and keep an eye out for what we have coming up next. For Steven, my name is Josh. Goodbye.